Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are tackling a blueprint that fundamentally shapes every single aspect of our daily lives. We're talking about the architecture of repetition. Let's just jump right into how behavior is actually built.
Okay, let's dive into this. When we look at the actual mechanics of habit formation, what we're really doing is dissecting the exact step by step process of developing a brand new positive routine. So often we mistakenly believe that building a new habit is just this sheer test of willpower, or that we need endless emotional motivation. But the source material reframes this entirely. It's not about waking up every single day feeling incredibly inspired. Actually, it's deeply mechanical. By viewing our routines as a structured system of behaviors, we completely remove that heavy burden of relying on pure motivation. It lets us forge these highly effective routines from scratch simply by understanding how the gears turn in our own minds. To truly internalize how this works, let's do a little exercise together, pulled straight from the source material. Now, while this might initially look like a ridiculously simple thought experiment, it's actually designed to reveal a profound truth about our behavioral architecture. Because honestly, our intuitive understanding of how behaviors stick is usually completely clouded by our desire for quick fixes. So let's just strip away all the complexity for a second and look at the absolute foundation of human action. So, how do we actually build a good habit? I know, it sounds incredibly basic, doesn't it? Almost too simple to even ask out loud. But getting this underlying mechanism right is the crucial difference between a fleeting, short-lived attempt at self-improvement and a permanent, structural change in our lives. Before we even move forward, just take a second and think about your own approach. When you set out to change your behavior, what is the actual mechanism you rely on to make it stick? The source material presents a really clear dichotomy here. Option A, do it just once. Or option B, do it again and again. Now, human nature is always going to tempt us to seek out option A. We romanticize that one-time heroic effort, right? The massive weekend overhaul, that one grueling workout, the drastic overnight change. It feels highly productive, and it's instantly rewarding. But the true architecture of habits relies on something far more mundane, yet infinitely more powerful. It requires us to abandon the allure of that single monumental push in favor of the quiet power of simply returning to the task. So which one is the true path? Yes, we do it again and again until it is easy. The answer is unequivocally B. It is absolutely never about that single monumental effort. It's entirely about the relentless, steady return to the behavior. And this is exactly where so many attempts at habit formation ultimately fail. We expect that initial burst of energy to somehow carry us through forever. Instead, the real work and the real result lies in the deliberate choice to execute the behavior repeatedly, regardless of how small or unglamorous that repetition might seem right there in the moment. So the crucial point is this underlying framework of consistent repetition. The source defines consistent repetition as the essential, absolutely non-negotiable requirement for making a new behavior feel completely effortless. Think of it like hiking through a dense, overgrown forest. The very first time you walk a new path, you are pushing through heavy brush, you're stumbling over roots. That is cognitive friction. It requires massive mental energy. But every single time you walk that exact same path, you trample the brush just a little bit more. You carve out a clear trail. Eventually, you can walk it blindfolded. Consistent repetition is the tool that carves that new path right in your brain, transitioning an action from a high-friction chore into an automatic, low-energy response. And this brilliantly illustrates the causal journey of the habit. We begin with step 1, doing an action repeatedly. This is the heavy lifting phase, where the mental brush is thickest, and where you are actively, deliberately choosing to put in the reps. But as you maintain that repetition, a vital shift occurs, leading us right into step 2. The behavior begins to feel effortless. The cognitive friction just drops away because that neural pathway has been cleared. The action literally no longer demands your active willpower. This biological efficiency ultimately triggers step 3. The habit becomes permanent. You see, the repetition wasn't just practice. It was the actual physical construction of a permanent behavioral change. We've successfully decoded the mechanics. Now that you understand the true architecture of repetition, you possess the literal blueprint for behavioral design. You know that it requires abandoning that one-time heroic effort and instead fully embracing consistent repetition to entirely strip away cognitive friction. So I want to leave you with this highly actionable challenge today. Look closely at your own daily life. What is the one specific positive routine you are willing to do again and again today so it becomes entirely effortless tomorrow? Take this framework, choose your path, and start clearing the brush.